It's time for the Everyman, where real man talk.
Let's go. Time to grind, get inside your mind. Yeah, we working overtime. That's the only way to climb. We gon' make it in our prime. Signing on the dotted line, cashing checks left and right. That's the way I'm living life.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Everyman podcast. Now, tonight we have a very special guest. We have Angela Todd, who is literally one of the coolest guests that we have had on in a long time because of what she specializes in: happiness. Is there anything better than specializing in happiness? So Angela is a mindset transformation coach, and she's come on to speak to us boys tonight because Yasmin, our new host, dropped out last minute. So she's talking to the boys tonight about everything happiness. How are you doing tonight, Angela?
I'm amazing, thank you. So excited to be on here.
Oh, thank you. We are honestly so excited to have you. I have to introduce you, but I also have to introduce a new host tonight as well. So we have Sean Baker, who's already getting support from one of our friends saying, "In Baker
Thanks
we
for
trust."
that, Dan.
So Sean is one of our new hosts. Sean and Yaz. Yaz has not come on tonight, as I said. Sean, how are you doing tonight, mate?
Yeah, really good. Had a really good day. Start of the week of work, coming towards the end of our month for targets. And I'm in a really good place with work, so I can sort of put my feet up a little bit at the moment. Finished work with a 45-minute gym exercise, and excited to hear a bit about happiness. Got some good questions for you, Angela.
Ooh.
Amazing. We like questions. That's always a great way to start. Dean, how are you? You look nice and chilled as per usual. You're just going to take this one nice and easy.
I'm I'm fairly happy at the minute, so just looking forward to getting a little bit more information. We've talked about this between us three, me, Baker, and yourself, Lou, about happiness, and but way before we even knew Angela was coming on. So I'm really keen to hear more about it and get into it, mate.
Yeah, great. So Angela, we are going to talk all about happiness, but before we do that, I think what would be really interesting for all our listeners and our guests and us as guests and hosts, a little bit about your story, who you are, why and how you got into the work that you do.
Goodness, where do I start? Probably at the beginning, a single parent at the age of 17. And yeah, I was a young mum. And at that point, never dreamed that I would ever be able to fulfill my dreams what I had at that point, traveling the world and having a career, because as an unsupported, young mum. And then I lost my best friend to a car crash when my son was 6 months old. So I just turned 18 at that point, and I was still living at home. And I remember my mum saying to me a couple of weeks after the funeral, "Oh, pull yourself together, Angela. You can't bring her back. Just life's for living. Live your own life." She was very Victorian era, my mum. And that's what I pretty much did. I took her word and thought, you know what? I can either live with PTSD or I can turn this into PTSD, which is post-traumatic, stress growth. And that's what I did. I kind of lived my life for Claire, and thought, well, if she's not here, I need to grab everything, by the balls, literally, and run with it. And that's what I did. I carved a career from the age of 18 in travel. So I have massive passion for travel. So I worked in the travel industry for about 17 years. And then I sidestepped over to the estate agency, found my lifelong soul partner, married, and I've now got 3 gorgeous granddaughters and 2 Romanian rescue dogs. And I've just sold a business last year to step into my purpose, which is to help more and more people, find their happiness, because the world's a tough one and we're living in tough times. And that's pretty much me in a nutshell, coming from, such a young age and having so many challenges thrown at me at that time, to becoming the person I am now.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like some journey. I suppose the question that I would have with that is, so you spent 17 years in one industry, so travel. How did you find that transition from going from, I presume you were employed in that type of role,
I
to
was,
then, to now having your own business and doing what you're doing? What were you unhappy at that period of time in travel, where then you found that this was always your calling and your purpose?
I didn't think I was unhappy, but the travel industry was changing at that time.
Yeah.
And I was reaching the age of 30. So it kind of just seemed, I got an opportunity to work for an estate agent. And it just seemed the right sidestep at that point, different challenge. I always miss travel. Massively, it's one of the things that lights me up, passion, my passion, traveling the world and exploring and meeting new people. But I then helped somebody create an estate agents. And this is the one that we sold last year to help me move into this. And I think I've got very little fear. I don't live with worry and fear too much. Maybe that's a mindset thing that I've worked on over the years. Maybe it's the challenges I've overcome. But it didn't feel hard, and it didn't feel wrong selling the business to take a risk and setting out on my own.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I just live by, each day that you have to do what you feel is right.
Yeah. No, that's good. Sean, were you about to ask something?
Yeah. So how you are talking about the earlier stage of your life when you said you lost your best friend. I think was it when you were 17 that.
I was 17 when I fell pregnant, 18 when I had my son in the June, and then my best friend was killed in a car crash along with her partner in the November of 88 of that year. Yeah.
That must have been really difficult. Is there any sort of advice you might be able to give to someone that's listening that might be going through something similar that you did at that time to sort of help you get through it?
I'm no stranger to losing. I've lost, my mum.
Yeah.
I keep calling her mum. I'm a Geordie. It's just me mum. I'm talking to you guys. Who do I think I am? Mum.
Yeah.
Talking to me, that's why.
Me mum, to tragic circumstances back 7 years ago. And I think it's just leaning into every emotion and going with the flow and not forcing anything. I think we have to take our blessings every single day when we're going through the really, really tough times in life. And the blessings can be something as little as, I've got a roof over my head, I've got food on my table, I've got, my legs to walk on. Just taking our blessings, that helps us through the really, really tough times.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
No.
I lost a friend, a very close friend towards the end of last year. And I really struggle to understand, because I think when something's quite sudden as well, which it tends to be when somebody's younger in their life, and you're not expecting it, it really knocks you for six. And I think I took a lot of sort of positive, a positive mindset from looking at the smaller things and thinking, well, I'm still here, and it sort of gives you that little bit of motivation, and you sort of lose that little bit of fear to put yourself out your comfort zone, because you think it gives you that moment of life's too short, isn't it? And I think
absolutely,
it makes you just crack on.
And I think we owe it to those that are no longer here to live our lives. It's not selfish, it's selfless, because we don't know what's going to happen. Life isn't a guarantee. And that was my earliest life lesson at the age of 18 with a young baby, is life is not a guarantee. If you want to have a good life, and you got to firstly work for it, dream for it, believe it, but also you got to just know that you've got to live each day like it is your last. But with an eye in the future, as I've got older, and I've appreciated that as well, because we've got to, one of the things I coach is we live in this society nowadays where, going slightly off piste here, we have this acronym YOLO, you only live once. Well, we don't, we live every single day. So whilst we've got to live every day as if it's our last, we have also got to do whatever we're doing today, what our older self will thank us for.
Yeah.
and look
That's
after
actually
ourselves.
that's such a what you said there is something where like that's where I'm at in my mindset. Like I've genuinely I've said that out loud to both of the lads on the podcast. That's how I feel. Like I in the past I've made decisions for today, not for tomorrow at all. And changing my mindset of making the most absolutely of today,
Yeah.
but then thinking, well, love today, but I also want to love tomorrow and not making those self-sabotage type decisions or I don't know, something that you later regret. And we've spoke about alcohol on the podcast before, and alcohol's one of them. Like you go on the
Massively.
night out, yeah, you go out for the day drinking, or you're out on the night out with your mates, and whilst it's great, you're having a good laugh. That the next day, you're not thankful for that person last
Couple
night,
of
are
days
you?
sometimes.
Yeah, a couple of
And
days
it's the
sometimes,
bad
but
choices you make thereafter. Your
Yeah.
energy's low, you're dehydrated, you'll turn to
yeah,
the wrong choice of food. The habits just become that cycle. And
Spirals.
that's no different to having that negative mindset. That's how our emotions and our feelings create the negative behaviors. Procrastination, where if we've got negative beliefs, with procrastination, we're not going to do something for fear that we don't believe we can do it, or we avoid something, or we go into self-sabotage mode, and that's no different than what alcohol does to us as well.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think you're right. There was a question I have, and it's to open up this conversation as we delve into sort of the happiness route. And I'll ask the boys it as well, so they can have a time to think. What does happiness mean to you, Angela? And it's quite a hard one to answer, probably. It's quite a broad question, isn't it?
It is, and happiness is very subjective, because what is happiness to one person is absolutely not to the other.
Yeah.
But for me, here and now, at the age of 54, happiness to
Mhm.
me is freedom. It's the freedom to choose what I do in life, what I get to spend my time on, who I get to spend my time on or with. But I would say freedom massively is something that gives me happiness.
That's a very good answer.
And also, it's a saying I used this morning when I was chatting to somebody about simplifying life to amplify. So at the moment, I'm going through transitional things in my businesses where I'm wanting to simplify things so I can amplify my happiness, because over the years, and I think everybody, certainly in the Western world, we all can be quite materialistic. We think the more bigger this, more of that we've got, the more it's going to make us happy. And quite often it's not the case. So simplifying things in life to amplify the happiness as well, because then you're just getting rid of all the things that, don't perhaps create happiness in your life.
Yeah,
But freedom
I think
for
that's
me
right.
definitely is what makes me happy. The freedom to choose.
Yeah, no, I like that a lot. Sean, what is happiness to you?
So I think at this stage of my life, I think it's more towards peace, just feeling at peace. I think like throughout me throughout my youth from like 18 to sort of 26, I sort of neglected like self-care towards myself. So I think like coming out of that I was very like I thought like through very like a negative bias sort of channel. And now I'm sort of having a lot more time where I'm not worrying or not stressing about the things that I used to stress about. So at this moment in my life, it's just feeling that peace. And when you have them moments where you just feel so like, I don't know, you just feel so at peace with everything around you. You look, and it might be a nice night when you walk along the beach, long time out, you can see the sun and the sea and everything like that, and you're just really grateful for everything that's going on around you. Yeah, I would say at this moment, definitely feeling peaceful.
And that's a state of happiness. So if happiness is the emotion, things like peace, joy, gratefulness, they're all of the states that you get from being happy. So anchoring into that peace, or that, things that make you joyful, will create that happiness.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's so true. Dean, what is happiness to you? This is either going to be the most profound thing we've ever heard, or it's going to be like a takeaway.
No, I think like for me it's like relationships and hobbies. Like the past couple of days for me, just because like the banter that we've had in the football chats and the just the time we spent yesterday playing football and on the sidelines and just everything about like those kind of relationships that we've had the past couple of days just makes us feel so like happy. Like I feel like at that point of time, like I wouldn't actually change anything else. Like I wouldn't change anything else. I was just so happy about it. But and your hobbies as well. For me, it's doing things that you're passionate about and things that you love. And us three are really into our football, aren't we? And we talk about it all the time. So the two big things for me is like relationships and hobbies.
Yeah.
Very good. Okay, so I have another question for you all.
Lou,
Angela, we'll
can I
start
just
with you.
interrupt a minute? What's happiness
Yeah,
to
mate.
you?
I should
We
really
never
think
ask
about
her,
these
I always
before I ask
forget.
the question. And yeah, I never get. So it's nice having someone on who asks me, but I probably need to think about this. Probably aligned to what Angela said around the idea that for me, I almost want to just remove like the complicated, the stress, really simplify my life. That's what happiness is. So as people who know me really well will know, like, I'm really bad for just taking things on. So busy job, I run a football team or run a club. I get involved in things, and when I get involved in something, I tend to not just be involved. I want to lead. I want to take on extra responsibility. So going through the process recently of just going, I don't need to do that. I don't need to do that. And then finding that probably piece to what you alluded to, Sean, of just being really grateful for like some silence, and not having that chaos in my brain all the time. Because I probably didn't think as much of that. That's a real ongoing stress, having thoughts always just churning and churning and churning in your head. So yeah, trying to just almost quieten the noise a little bit. And it's weird at the moment. I just feel like I have too much time because I've removed 25% of the things that I used to just do or think about all the time, that weren't actually serving me positively. So yeah, that's probably what it is to me. Just trying to find peace, removing stress, and in sort of living in the moment more than anything else. Good question. Didn't really know how to answer that one perfectly well, but okay.
You answered it very well.
It was your own question.
Yeah, I know. I should probably. I'm now thinking, what one should I ask in case I get asked it?
But what you've just said there about living in the moment, that's one of the biggest things that we can all learn, because that gets rid of a lot of anxiety and worry, which is fear of the unknown, fear of what's going to happen next week, next month, worrying about things, because they're all really, really low-lying negative energies and thoughts and feelings, which then lead to all the negative behaviors in our life. And that's where that cycle, keeps on going. We'll keep turning to that glass of wine or that, kind of extra can of beer, and, to elude all of and try and evade all of them worries. But if we just live in the moment and we be totally grateful for what we've got, what might or might not happen in the future becomes totally irrelevant. You can't worry about something you've got absolutely no idea is going to happen or not. And it's proven, science shows 75% of the things that we actually worry about never, ever occur, never happen.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a stat I like.
Yeah, live by the worst case scenario rule as well. If you are worried about something, what's the worst case scenario if that happens? Because that generally makes you then realize, well, actually, it's not as bad as I'm thinking, so I don't need to worry about it as much.
Yeah, that's really helpful, because that's something I struggle to do sometimes. Like you sort of overthink absolutely everything around a certain situation, and none of the information that you think about is actually valid, and it never ever happens, hardly ever happens. So yeah, is there anything on that though? Is there anything that you do, like from like a meditation point of view or anything like that you find helpful to live in the moment a bit more?
Breath work. We cannot underestimate the power of slowing our breath down. And when I've just been over to Greece, to Athens, and we went up to Meteora, I wanted to go and see where the monks live. And they've, like, years and years and years ago, they built their houses, their monasteries on cliffs. And even today, they live like an absolute simplistic life. So they get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, they'll do 2 hours solitary meditation, breathing, slowing the breath down, meditating, and then they collectively all join together for a further 2 hours of gratitudes and meditation. That's before they've even had a cup of coffee or had their breakfast. They've spent 4 hours just living in the moment. And then they go to work for 7 hours. Then they'll play for 7 hours. I mean, I don't know what monks and nuns play is, to be honest, probably nothing like ours. But and then they have 7 hours rest. They have the 7 hours rest. So they live in that sort of, you know, parallel universe of
Cyclical
3.
7-7. Yeah.
7, yeah. And I think when you slow the breath down and you live in the moment. So when I do my coaching sessions or my hypnotherapy sessions with my clients, I always start off with a breathing exercise. And I teach breathing exercises just to literally help people reduce and live in the moment. So if they're starting to, you know, get too anxious or they can't sleep, then just slowing the breath down. And that leads back to the Buddhists when they do their chanting. It's all about slowing our breath down. And meditation it's just, that's what you do. You switch off your mind and you rest. It's a form of sleep. And when we sleep, we heal. So, you know, that's the beauty of meditation. And there's so many people frightened of the word meditation because they think they have to be some kind of yogi sitting on a yoga mat out in some forest somewhere. You don't. You can spend 5 minutes on a morning. You can spend 2 minutes on your lunch break doing a bit of meditation. It's just quieting your brain down, slowing your breath down. And that should not be underestimated as well for well-being, but also for just grounding you into the moment and just turning your mind off from any worries that are there in the future that you have.
Yeah.
Do you meditate at all?
So I went through a stage of meditating, like trying to do it every night. But I think where my brain was at that time, like I was like sort of searching for like perfection and things and like for it to be something what it wasn't. But then like when I look back at the times, there was times when my brain was just still and that's actually what it was. But I was expecting it to be something more than it actually was, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, it is literally just quietening the brain down and just really going into that slower pace. And if you struggle with meditating on any level, cold water therapy gives you equal. You go into cold water, you go sea dipping or just go into an ice bath or stand under a cool shower. You can't think of anything other than, oh my God, I'm cold. And sometimes you don't even think about that. My friend can't meditate. You know, in the sense of sitting quiet. But the minute she gets into the sea on her morning sea dips, that's it. That's 10 minutes of meditation done for her, and she just comes out feeling a different person. So that's a good tip for anybody who is struggling.
Yeah, I get a similar feeling when I go hiking. So like, you know, just sometimes I'll stop for a moment and just having a little look around, and you just like, there's no worry, there's no nothing. It's just complete, everything seems still, and there's not a lot of noise when you're hiking in the middle of nowhere. So it's just like a moment of just peacefulness, and it's really
connecting with nature, you know, and getting your kids out with nature as well. I play a game with the grandkids where we go out and we search for 5 things that we can see of color. So I give them different colors to go and search for. 5 different things you can hear, 5 different things you can touch, 5 different things you can smell.
Yeah.
And when you're focusing on your senses, you can't think about anything else than what you're looking for as well. And that's really good when you're out hiking and just like you've said, stopping and being in the moment, isn't it? And just looking and taking it all in, but really feeling it and seeing it and hearing it and just being in that moment. There's nothing better.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think so recently I've gone through a little bit of like a reset, I would describe, in my mentality. I was probably a little bit out of balance, letting things get on top of me a little bit in life. And the one thing that has absolutely changed my mindset has been just getting outside. The idea of just getting out, getting fresh air, bit of a good routine, getting up early, not going to bed too late. And they are such simple, controllable things. I do think the weather changing massively helps as well. When you get up and it's light,
Massive.
yeah, it makes such a difference, especially where I'm a 10-minute walk from being on Tynemouth Beach. So the fact that I can get there and I'm seeing a sunrise, to start your day seeing a sunrise, there's probably nothing better that's going to happen in my day exactly than seeing something like that. And it just starts your day off on such a different footing. So I completely agree. If anyone is out there and feeling a bit maybe not as happy as they think they could, just getting outside, it makes all the difference, and moving obviously helps. So one of the big questions I had going into this episode, and we have spoke about it, was before the episode, was in society, there seems like there's so much pressure for us just to be happy. And well, if you're not happy, then there's something wrong with you. Like all the social media accounts, the Instagram accounts, where it's like happiness, like everyone looks happy, everyone seems happy, and when you're not happy, that perception out there that, oh my God, everyone's living this perfect life, there must be something wrong with me. Is society striving for the wrong thing? Should we be striving for contentment more than happiness, or is happiness all the time unachievable?
Yes, it is unachievable. Happiness 24/7. It absolutely is. Happiness is an emotion. So the opposite of happiness is sadness. But with happiness, contentment is a state of happiness. Now, with happiness, most people are striving for goals. You know, they want bigger, better, they want more. When they're striving for something and they reach it, they're generally not happy. They then go on and want bigger and better again, because there's no inner happiness. Their happiness is generally built on external validation. The big house, the big car, the social interaction, you know, what they look like. They don't look at the contentment in life of, well, actually, I've got a roof over my head. I've got dinner on the table. I've got my body. I'm able. I can see. I can talk. I can listen. I can feel. They forget the little things of what being content is. Now, I'm a massive goal getter. I coach people to go and get, you know, set goals and achieve them. So I'm not adverse to that. But I think when we're talking about happiness, you've got to question, if you are setting goals and you are striving for happiness, what is it that you're striving for that you think is going to make you happy? Because it likely isn't going to make you happy.
Yeah.
Because you'll just end up striving for more and something different. So finding inner peace and joy and contentment is what happiness actually is. But that's also down to, if we go off on a tangent, mindset.
Yeah.
And once we understand how our minds work, so as an NLP practitioner, which is neuro-linguistic programming, so if we have a negative behavior, if we have a negative thought, that negative thought creates negative emotions and feelings. And them negative emotions and feelings create negative behaviors, such as what I said earlier on, procrastination, lack of self-belief, feeling that we're not able to do something. So we just put it off, we procrastinate, or we'll avoid doing something, or we'll go into self-sabotage mode. And that doesn't create happiness, because we're in a negative mindset and negative program with a load of negative behaviors. And what we tell ourselves becomes our reality in life. So basically, if we tell ourselves we can't do something, we look for evidence to back that up. And our
Yeah.
behaviors, our thoughts, our feelings will all align to that reality. And that, in essence, affects our happiness.
Mm-hmm.
But when we flip that mindset to an understanding that every single day we have the choice to control our thoughts, our emotions, our feelings, which create our behaviors, and we can change that to positive thoughts, which create positive feelings and emotions, which create positive behavior,
Mm-hmm.
that creates a happier lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that doesn't negate the fact that life's going to throw curveballs at us. But what it allows us to do is be able to control our emotions so that whatever gets thrown at us, we can deal with more logically than we do emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
Chasing happiness or thinking we should strive and be happy is complete bollocks, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I think that was like an issue that I had when I was younger. When I was looking for happiness, I looked at it as like a destination. That when I got there, I would always be there, and I like
No.
slowly but surely realized that that's actually not the case. And I think sometimes you have to have sadness as well to appreciate your happiness a little bit more. And it's just life, isn't it?
It's yin and yang,
Mhm.
it's life, it's that balance.
Yeah.
And, it's absolutely fine to have negative thoughts
Yeah,
and sadness. It's when we dwell too much in it.
yeah,
Mhm.
And if we
Yeah.
didn't dwell in sadness and them negative thoughts, we would be robots.
yeah,
We were born, our DNA, as that caveman fight or flight. We don't wake up in the morning and instantly go, yay, I'm happy.
Mhm.
At
yeah.
least I don't. And
I
I
certainly don't.
teach and
No.
coach people how to live a balanced, successful life. But what we can do is literally just understand that our minds are so powerful, but we do and can take control of their minds. No different to my analogy, which I always love using, is like, when you're driving your car and you might be driving down some country lanes and your radio starts crackling and the station goes off, doesn't it? The
Mhm.
first thing you tend to do is either press a button or turn the dial literally to get a new channel, and that music comes back on. And our minds are no different. They're programmed, but we have the ability to switch and change the dial in our minds every single day.
Mhm.
And when I was taught that, it was an absolute game changer for me, because I actually sat there and went, what? I can actually control my own mind. Yeah, really? Okay, go and give it a try. And that's what I do every single day. I still have negative thoughts and self, harming thoughts, but negative belief and limiting beliefs. But I know how to deal with them now a lot better than I used to deal with them when I was younger. So therefore, I can deal with situations a lot better that get thrown at us as well. And I think chasing something or thinking we have to find something just puts more pressure on, that we begin to think we're a failure if we're not happy,
Yeah.
or we can't find our purpose. So I think it's just bringing it back to just gratitude, contentment, living in the moment, simplifying life so that we're not living, a million miles an hour, and that we can literally just be grateful for what we have. And that in itself will create more happiness and more joy.
Mhm. Do you know? I made a post about this. I don't know, about a week ago. I think it was after me and Sean went on a walk, and what I'd done, I think we'd been for a run. No, I'd been for a run. Then we walked your dog, Sean, and we walked along the beach, and we were talking about like being happy and um, like the process of getting to that point. And you said something really profound, and whether you remember saying it or not, but it stuck with me since you said it. Was well, do people ever ask themselves what makes me happy? Like, what
Yeah,
actually makes me happy? Not, oh, I would be happy if I got promoted at work, or I would be happy if my partner would just start emptying the dishwasher or made the bed, or I would be happy if I could see my friends. Well, have how many people actually do that work of going, what does actually make me happy? Like stepping back from, so mine, if you would ask me when I was younger, it would be, well, I want to go out on the drink and see my friends. But now at 31, I would go, I want to see my friends, but I could happily not have the drink. Like there's that part. Or I want to play football. Like, stepping back from the things of like thinking that you have to do to be cool or fit in with the crowd because you think it's probably what you were saying before, Angela, around we almost do the things that we think will make us happy to maybe fit in or whatever versus just doing the things that actually make us happy. And even that, and asking yourself that simple question, what makes me happy? And when we were saying before the things of what happiness is to us, if you're a listener, ask yourself that question, what is happiness to you? So for us, it was peace, and it was removing stress, and it was doing things with people that we care about and that we enjoy. But what does that mean to you as a listener? And ask yourself those questions, because even just as we've been speaking, my brain's just been going at like 100 miles per hour going, okay, I need to maybe slightly change that because I'm thinking about my behaviors in a slightly different way because I'm actually thinking about it. And I know that sounds so over the top, but there's so many times we don't actually give those thoughts the time of day to truly think about it. We just take those for granted and then question why we're unhappy.
And what I would add on that as well is I would invite anybody listening to not only think about what makes them happy, but reevaluate every single aspect of their life, but on a regular basis. We do it in businesses. You know, we run businesses, we have our mission statement, what we profess, what our values are. We then every, quarter we'll have we're targets, we know what we're doing, and we set out and look at the nice to have things, the must haves, and everything in our businesses, but do that in our own lives as well. So everything from nutrition right through to, fun. Where are we building fun into our daily lives? Be it in work communities, whether it's at work, with family, whatever fun means to you, but grade things from 1 to 10 as well and look at where the imbalance is. And that's one of my coaching sessions that I do is looking at balance, because quite often we get too busy chasing one thing. It has a massive negative effect and impact on something else. And happiness is about balance as well, because when we live in a balanced life, there's more harmony, and harmony is that state of happiness as well. So balance in life is very, very important. And I think what you've just touched on there, Lewis, is about consciously thinking and consciously being aware and getting off that, eat, sleep, work, repeat cycle, and actually just having a CEO day at home for yourself, for your own life. What are my values? What's lighting us up? What do I really love doing? What do I have to get rid of to make us be able to do that? Or what do I need to create to be able to do that? And build your life and create your life like that. Because too often, even as employees, you go in and build other people's businesses up, and it has a massive impact on your own life.
Yeah.
So it's being consciously aware of absolutely everything we do. And when we get consciously aware, we can make small, it doesn't have to be big, but just small, but often impactful changes, because we become aware of what we're doing on a daily basis. And we're not on that, before I've even thought about it, I've ate that packet of biscuits and that, whatever it is, that is possibly damaging us. We can literally just be consciously aware of everything. And that, I think, helps with the happiness in your life as well, because you get a lot clearer on what lights you up and what's dimming you.
No, absolutely. When I was doing the prep for this podcast, and Dean and Sean will have heard me say it, because I was trying to work out the best way to say it. So when I think of people who are unhappy, I think it takes an awful lot of bravery to become happy. So, and I say that because to go from an unhappy state to a happy state takes a lot of change. So,
And
we've
time.
all, And time,
time.
exactly.
Sometimes that's the biggest one. You want it to happen straight away, and when you're in that
Yeah.
motivational state of like, when is it coming? When is it coming? But you've just got to believe in the process, haven't you? And trying to be as positive as you can about everything.
100%. Like we all know people who are unhappy in their job. We all know people who are unhappy in a relationship or unhappy with what their health is or whatever that might be. And I seen something recently how there's almost like a change curve with with people's impulses to make a change in their life. So you have, and I can't remember the name of the curve, but you have people who are maybe not entirely happy, so they're not massively, they're not depressed, they're not suicidal, they're not at the extreme end of unhappiness, but then they're not content, but they're not in a great place, and those people won't make any changes in their life because they haven't had the, oh my god, my life is gonna, it's ruined unless I make a change. But then you've got the people who are happy, who are in that state of like contentment, but then they're not going to make any more changes because they feel like they're content. And so many people in life need to have that extreme from I'm kind of not happy to, oh my god, my life's over, or like something really bad happens in their relationship, or they potentially are going to lose their job at work, to then decide I need to make a change in my life because I'm not happy. And I think it's one of those where you have to be selfish, you have to be brave, I think, to truly be happy, because we can all go through life in this like mediocre pace, kind of just taking life as it comes. I'm not living my best life. I don't feel amazing, but that whole, what you said before about one life, live it, or YOLO. That's where my brain is with this now, and even doing the prep towards this made me think I can't let my mindset get to a place of like comfortable not being that happy. I need to put things in my life where when I start to feel like that, I need to have that self-reflection moment to go, okay, something needs to change. Like I'm not getting everything out of my days or my weeks or my months or my years because I'm just letting life be, and in a pretty shitty situation or shitty state, where what I actually need to do is put things in my life where periodically I do that self-reflection, that CEO day, as you say, where I sit down and go, right, this is everything on the table. What do I need to do to get to where or how I want to be?
Yeah. And having the self-realization that it's in your control to do that as well. And and once you don't anchor your happiness onto somebody else or something, and understand that happiness comes from us, from within. It doesn't come from that new handbag. It doesn't come from that new set of golf clubs. It doesn't come from that holiday or that partner. It actually comes from within. And understanding that, and understanding what makes you happy. But like you say, having the courage and having the balls to make change, because ultimately, as you've just said, with change, it comes fear. It's the unknown. And that's that cycle again. You stay stuck because you're frightened of the unknown. You're frightened and fearful. But if you flip that and change that from thinking of, oh, change is it's something to fear. If you flip that to the unknown brings excitement and new doors and new opportunities. And again, it's just that mindset and how you think about change.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
so many people, I know so many people who are in jobs they do not like because they are fearful of change. I'd rather do this because it's better the devil you know. Well, if you're going to just do that every single day, then don't expect it to make you happy. If it's not making you happy now, it's not going to make you happy in 6 months' time. Have to find it within. But then that comes down to the lifestyles we've all chose. So when we start getting into financial, responsibilities for cars and mortgages or rents or children, it also becomes very difficult to make that change because you're financially reliant on that income coming in.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah,
understand
massively.
why a lot of people stay in jobs that they don't like, because if they go out and change, you know, they may have security where they are, but it just might not be making them happy. That's where you've got to weigh up what's more important, security and not being happy, or go out and take that risk and you don't know what's going to happen, but you could find that happiness and that contentment and live a life that's going to fill you up and not fill you with dread or fear of getting up and going, oh, I've got to go and do something I don't like.
And so how do you, when you get in these scenarios of like, say, for example, you know, one of the things for me is like, not necessarily unhappy in my job, not necessarily happy, think I could maybe be happier doing something else, but not knowing what that something else is. Like, how do you find the answers to those questions? Like, feeling like I could be happier elsewhere doing something else, but not knowing what is that something else. How do you answer that?
You can't. I remember having a conversation back in my 20s. I was sitting in Peterlee in the Lumpoly office with all my team at the end of the day, and we used to always just have a chat. And I remember having this conversation just last year with one of my teammates who was still friends with. And I remember saying to them way back, and I'm talking, I was in my 20s, saying, I'm on earth for a reason. I'm here for a reason. I mean, bearing in mind, we didn't have social media, we didn't have all of the world that we live in now. So I just remember saying, I'm here, there's purpose, and I just don't know what that is just yet. And I've just reached 53 last year, and I finally found my purpose, and I stepped into it, which is to help other people, because I've done that throughout my career, through employees, teammates. I've always coached, mentored, and helped people. But it's took me to a ripe old age of 54 now to kind of go, right, okay, I'm going to sell a business and create a new one. And then that particular friend I was chatting to said to us, she went, I don't have a purpose. My purpose here on life is to be happy for myself. She went, so I just go to work, do the best I can, and I come home and I sit and read in the conservatory, and, you know, or I'll catch up with my mum or my son, and that makes me happy. And I'm like, that's amazing. That's self-fulfillment. You're not looking for other things to make you happy. And so happiness is subjective, because what's happy and what's one's purpose is not another's. So it's a hard, absolute hard question to answer, because it took me what I feel like all of my life and lots of soul searching and working with coaches and having accountability and really, really digging deep as to what really lights me up. And yes, everybody who knows me knows I've got a passion for traveling and exploring. But the biggest thing that lights me up, helping other people and seeing the transformation that they create in their lives from the information that I can give to them. But it's a difficult one, because you've got to just do a lot of soul searching and kind of keep digging deep and asking yourself what your purpose is, what your value is, what's important to you, and just keep asking them 3 questions till you get to answers. But it could take a long time. You could wake up tomorrow with an epiphany and go, oh, that I know what I want. There's no guidebook, there's no rule book. There's not a chart you can tick and go, yes, I'm working my way down.
I was really hoping you had a chart.
All I can say is you dig deep and you kind of look at, if this job is satisfying you on a grade of 1 to 10, what's that satisfaction number? Because if it's 5 or below, I'd be kind of going, right, I would start looking for something else that's going to give us above 5 to 10. Because that's going to create more satisfaction, and satisfaction is happiness.
Yeah. Do you think trying things in your own time, trying different things that you've never really done before as well, can maybe open them doors a little bit to see what you might want to work in, or how you might want to follow your career and how you find your purpose? Because if you keep doing the same things all of the time, you're probably not going to get any new thoughts going through your mind. So go and do something that you haven't done before, and something like that might happen. You don't know.
Contribution, you know, when you contribute and you give some of your time to a charity, or you go out into the community and say go and volunteer and do something, that is a form of contentment as well. It makes you happy. So it's finding all of the different things in life that you can anchor onto that will help increase that happiness as well. But grading all the different aspects of your life between 1 and 10, 10 being the absolute joy, peace, it's amazing. 1 being, oh my God, this is like, hate this. Grade where you are on, you know, whether that is a relationship, whether that's with your parents, whether that's with your children, whether that's with your co-workers, whether that's on your job, you know, your financial status. There's so many different aspects of your life when you become consciously aware, as we said before, that will help you just maneuver around to find more balance and happiness. But yeah, I think what you've just said there about trying new things, we were chatting about this, getting out your comfort zone, and stepping into the fear zone. It can massively help with resilience, which helps you deal with problems, them curveballs that get thrown at us, which helps you create a state of happiness easier, with more ease. Because when you're resilient and you've got that resilience, and you can maneuver your emotions for the better, that allows you to stay more in the happiness zone than it does being further in the negative, sad, low-lying negative energies.
No,
How was
I think that
you guys got out your comfort zone?
good,
do you know
good
what,
loaded
like,
question there.
Yeah.
You know the answer to that one.
Do you know what? Like, it was horrible when I was doing it. Like, I've got a massive
You
fear
have to
of
explain.
heights.
Remember, everyone doesn't know, Sean.
All right, okay. So for me, heights is probably my biggest fear. So me and Lou decided to go climbing last Friday, thinking, right, I'm going to conquer one of my fears. I don't believe I've conquered it, but when I was doing it, it was horrible. Like, I literally went up the wall in shuttles. Like, you're meant to just go straight at the top, but I went up a little bit, come down, went up. And every time I was going up, I was thinking, this clip is not working. This clip is broke. I'm going to fall. I'm going to fall. But I kept going, didn't I, Lou?
You did really well, mate.
I got halfway there, shall we say, Lou? Yeah?
I think you got further than halfway. I'm gonna.
Yeah.
If it was Dean didn't even get to a quarter, but you, mate,
I would have completed it.
Probably.
And it wasn't like when I was there, I didn't necessarily enjoy it because my brain was racing and my anxiety was high. But you know, when we went and sat down for food afterwards, I thought, you know what, like I'm still here. Like I've put myself up there in a place where I don't like to be, and I felt really energized from just doing that for myself. And I know over time, if I kept doing it, it would probably conquer the fear. Not that I'm going to be doing it anytime soon again. I need a little bit of time. But once again, it's just trying new things, and you feel good when you try something new.
Yeah. And I always teach our grandchildren, and I'm known for this, and it's one of the greatest things you can say to kids as well, but also to yourself, is changing your I can't negative statements. So like changing it from I can't to I can't yet, or I can't yet get to the top of there. I can't yet means you will. Whereas if you tell yourself all of the time negatively, I can't, you won't. You'll find excuses to not do it. But if you change that mindset to I can, or I can't yet, or I can, you'll find evidence to prove yourself that you can, and you will do it.
Yeah, that's really helpful.
It absolutely is mindset. And so for anyone who's listening who hasn't seen any of our posts, me and Sean, for the next 7 weeks, well, we initially said 8 weeks, but I think it might last longer, if I'm honest. But we're just going to try something new, or something we haven't really done much of, once a week on a Friday. We normally end it with some food, which is the highlight, to be honest, because we both love our food. But the idea of just going and pushing ourselves out of our comfort zone. The first one was a run, wasn't it? But we've been running anyway, so That's fine. Then it was the heights. Next week, I think we're doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. But it's
Yeah.
even things like paddleboarding, surfing, going, running up
Horse
hills.
tracking.
Yeah, horse riding.
Yeah, I know
yeah.
you try to get the horse tracking in there.
Yeah.
I don't think I've rode a horse since I was about 10. So yeah, it might have to be one. There's probably somewhere around here we could do it. And I'm sure Angela's going to tell us there's exactly a place that we can do it. But
Well, that
think
was
she already
my
has.
fear zone
Yeah.
because I've had a fear of horses since I was a child. And I booked my friend on New Year's Day. I was in the lakes. We'd spent the New Year's weekend there. And I took her we went for a dip in the water in one of the waterfalls. And we were talking about what we wanted to do this year. And she said, I think I want to take horse riding up again. So off she was going to Zanzibar in January for her birthday. So I had sent her a link to some horse riding event that she could do in Zanzibar. So when she lives in Derby and she was coming up to stay with me in March. So I'd watched Robson Green's Weekend Escapes, and he's all about mental health, well-being, getting out in nature. And I love his series.
yeah,
And it's inspired me to go off to a fair few places he's been to. And he'd visited Cinder Hope, I think it's Cinder Hope, horse trekking in Northumberland, just not far from Allendale. So I booked it for my friend as a surprise. So even on the drive there, she had absolutely no idea what we were going to do. And we were talking about fears, and she started talking about horse riding. I thought, the game's here. She knows what we're doing. And she says, because, and then she said, because horses know when people are fearful. And I'm driving, going, oh my God, I'm going to get on a horse in like less than an hour and it's going to know that I'm fearful. I started absolutely papping my pants. I was like, how do I get through? Am I going to even get on this horse? So we pulled up and she seen the sign. I says, ta-da, horse ride. She was like, oh my God, I've just been saying about this. I went, yeah, and it's me that's got a fear of horses. I says, but I'm telling myself I can do it and I'm going to get on this horse. And when I rocked up, I got the oldest pony in town. He was asleep when I got there. And I got on him and I apologized to him the whole way around this hour. But it was an amazing experience. And for somebody who isn't, great with horses, it pushed me out of my comfort zone. But like you doing the climbing, I felt amazing afterwards and I got a real sense of achievement. And that's another tick list for happiness. Because when you're feeling that you've achieved something, it's that state of achievement that is part of happiness. And if you just live in your comfort zone every single day on an eat, sleep, work, repeat mode and don't change anything or don't step out of that, you'll never learn anything either. You need to get out of your comfort zone, step into that fear zone and go into the growth and the learning zones.
Yeah, and I think as well, like when you go into your most uncomfortable places, afterwards it makes you think, well, if I can do that, I can do anything, which then plants them positive seeds in your head, and it just planting as many as you can and then watering and putting some sunshine on them, isn't it?
Absolutely. Watching them grow and thrive.
Are you laughing at, Dean?
Just
a good analogy, mate.
Just good, mate. I loved it. I just like that.
Yeah, that was very good. So Angela, I'm conscious we are coming close to sort of as we normally start to wrap it up close-ish. So I have some maybe quick fire ones. I don't know if the boys do. One of the big ones for me would be around what, again, fairly, you can answer as long as you wish. So don't feel like I was trying to rush you by any point there. But I think we spoke about tonight how happiness is so important, and the yin and the yang, and being unhappy or sad is important too. What do you feel being unhappy teaches people?
It teaches you. I don't know for other people because again, it's very subjective what we all think is happy and sad. But when I'm sad, and that's sometimes on, I'm human. I may be a happiness coach and, teach mindset, but I get sadness as well. But I think for me, when I'm sad, it teaches me that there's happiness and that I don't want to live a life of sadness. So it just makes me then switch to gratitude and go into that abundance of appreciation for what I do have when I'm happy.
Yeah.
But there's lots of things I have in my life that make me sad. Yeah, really make me sad, but it also just makes me really appreciative of the good times and the happy times. And that's what I anchor onto in the times of sadness.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that's really important. Boys, is there anything that what
Just
Go
one
on,
from
Mike.
me. Do you think so in society overall, Angie? Do you think that social media has a positive effect on people's happiness or a negative effect on people's happiness?
Again, very subjective, depending on who you are and how you actually set your boundaries around your social media and your digital diets. Again, something that I coach. I absolutely think there is a place for social media. People run their businesses off it. We get amazing podcasts. We get a lot of learning. But the last 3 motivational speaking gigs that I've done has been all about social media and digital diets and how we have to have tight boundaries. But that's a whole topic and a whole subject of its own. So the answer is, if you can control and set really tight boundaries on your social media and your digital diets and what you consume, then yes, there's no reason for it to not make you happy. But if you've got a social media or you're subjecting your mind to literally listening to the news, things that you've got no control over, and you're listening to them 24/7. So whether you're in the car, whether it's coming on in the news, or you're standing in a shop listening to the news and you're taking it all in, then you're putting yourself at risk of post-traumatic stress disorder when you're older. And that's indirect post-traumatic stress. So it's vital that we have a social platform that is nothing but inspiring, that is learning, going to learn us, teach us things, and empowers us. And if we do that, then yes, social media can make us happy.
Yeah.
But it's an absolute loose cannon. And this is why mental health issues are on the rapid rise, because 62% of us reach for our phones within 15 minutes of waking up in the morning.
I'm definitely one of them.
Scary, that, isn't it?
Surprised
Yeah,
as
me
low as
too.
that, to be fair.
Me too, yeah.
52% of people globally are scrolling, or doom scrolling, as I call it, through their phones through the night when they can't sleep. So sleep disorders are on the increase. So it's a massive topic that's really passionate of mine to help people. And I've had so many people come up to us after the motivational talks that I've done to say, or they've messaged us a couple of days later and went, oh my God, I've put my phone outside the bedroom now. I've had an hour before bed where I don't even have the phone in our bedroom anymore, because I'm starting to live by the rules. I've had a tight media digital diet for years. I've not listened to media, read the news for 7 years. I'm quite ignorant. I know there's wars going on. There's been wars going on since man was alive. You've got to go to Greece and listen to the Greek mythology and the Greek legends of the wars that we've had over, worldwide. But we can't control them. But what we can do is control how we control them, and we control what we intake.
How we think about them.
feed
Yeah.
ourselves.
Yeah.
Because what we feed our minds is equally as important as what we feed our stomachs.
Yeah.
If
But
we want,
maybe even more. Maybe even more.
I would argue that yes, it is.
Yeah.
It is more. I
Yeah.
would argue that. Well, the
yeah,
scientists
I think
I don't know, but yes, I do
Yeah.
think. I do.
Do you know who? Sean asked a really important question there. And Sean, again, on that same walk we did, you told me about a little Instagram saves thing you've got. Tell us about that.
To be fair, I'm considering getting rid of all socials, but I'm reluctant to get rid of my Instagram because I follow inspirational quotes and I just put them in you can save them into an archive, and you know, when I'm feeling a bit bad, or like I'm having a bit of a negative day, or I'm feeling a little bit like what I'm with all this positive energy that I'm trying to find and trying to work for, that, you know, when you just feel like nothing's working for you and you think, well, why am I doing it anymore? I just go into there and just start reading through them. And then I always, afterwards, I always think, right, you're on the right track, you're doing the right things, you're thinking in the right mindset, you're just having a little bit of a bad time, and it really, really helps us. And I get worried about getting rid of that, because I do use it.
What I would probably invite you there to do is not necessarily get rid of your socials, but get rid of maybe the damning things in your socials.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Because like my
sometimes-
husband will say to me, "Oh, did you hear about XYZ?" And I'll go, "No." Well, it was all over social media. Well, the people I follow, or the people who are in my socials, are not the type of people that would share that anyway. So my social medias are really tight. So maybe it's just look at who you're following or who you're allowing into your social space. It's like my analogy of walking into a room. If in a corner, you know, you've got literally a load of people having rage, you know, they're arguing, and then in the other you've got loads of doomsayers and naysayers and negativity going on, and over there's loads of people fighting, and in this corner there's conflict. If you walked into that room, what would you do?
Just walk out.
Good. So that should be your social media space. You get rid of all of that. So when you walk into your social media space and your social media room, the only thing that's in there is in that corner, inspiring, in that corner, somebody who's going to empower you, somebody who's going to teach you something. And that's the control we have. We take back the control of social media rather than it controlling us, which is what it's doing to the majority of people.
Yeah.
And there's also an app, which I'll tell you about it, guys. I know you're conscious of time here, but there's an app that I have that I pay something like 20 quid a year for. It's called I Am, and I literally have positive affirmations. I'm the happiness coach. I still need help, you know, but I have affirmations that come up and they make me giggle, because some of them come up just at the right time as well, because I'll just think, oh, I just needed to hear that. But you can set how many affirmations come up on your phone at what, you know, every 15 minutes if you need a little bit more, or, you know, every few hours, what have you. But you can go in and choose, you know, different topics of what you need that extra encouragement for. Or you hire a coach like me.
That's very true. That is also very true. So before we wrap up, which is actually, you probably touched on that really well there, because we obviously want to get experts like you on the podcast, but we also want to talk about what you do, how people can reach out to you, how people can find you, because again, there'll be lots of listeners post this episode going out properly who will say, oh my God, I learned so much. How do I find out more? How can people get in touch with you? How can people find out more about your services? And if they want to reach out to work with you, what can they do?
I have a website, the Happiness Coach Limited, well, LTD. So the Happiness Coach Ltd.co.uk. So you can find me on there. I'm on all of the socials. So LinkedIn, Ang Todd. I'm on Facebook, Angela Todd. I'm on LinkedIn. I have a LinkedIn, Instagram profile as well. They can find me on there. So lots of different ways to get in touch.
Cool. No, that's really exciting, and I think I would encourage anyone, because I actually think we could have spoke about so much more tonight as well. So I feel there's some topics we have coming up around things like social media abuse, or how people, and not abuse as in like anything negative in terms of like really bad, but as in you abusing social media by using it too much, and the impact that can have on your mental health. So I think there's lots of topics in the future. We would definitely love to have you back on and talk about these types of things. Boys, is there anything from you two before sort of we wrap it up there?
No more questions. Just thank you, Angie. Took a few bits. Yeah,
Angie.
Yeah, no, we're laughing here because before we went on air, they were like, Louis was saying, is there anything you don't want to be called by? And I went, I'm happy with everything other than Angie.
And you called you Angie twice. Honestly,
Sorry,
he said it
it's the
before,
issue,
and
Angela.
he said it. He
I
said
didn't
it
know his
I
name
before.
was
before.
giggling.
I
I
know
was
it's
like,
that
oh, I
one
bet
though.
you the lads are going. Like,
Oh,
no
no.
offense taken. Absolutely none taken. You weren't here. So you're
But you're
absolutely
not allowed to engage in any of her services because you call her Angie.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not going to say
Yeah.
anything else tonight.
Yeah, God. But
Oh,
no,
well,
I,
listen,
Nah, well,
thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
yeah, I just want to say
honestly,
thanks as
so
well,
insightful.
Angie. Sorry, mate. I just spoke right out of the top of you. It's the first time I spoke actually all podcast, but no, I just really enjoyed this one. I've just literally been sitting, taking everything in as I always do, thinking about all these different things I'm gonna do starting tomorrow. But yeah, no, I really appreciate you coming on, and hopefully we can speak to you again in the future.
Absolutely. Just changing that mindset from I am, any I am negative statements, you're telling yourself to I am, changing it to a positive statement and watching your belief system start to kick in from there and your new behaviors change. It's a marvelous subject. I could spend hours talking about it, but I'm appreciative, just like you, lives are busy. So thank you so much.
Yes.
And I'd love to be back on board if you'll have
Oh,
us.
that's
Yeah,
great.
yeah, absolutely. So, again, yes, thank you from all of us. We are super grateful. To our listeners, if you didn't listen live, most don't obviously listen live. It'll go out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Acast. I can't think of the others. I should know all of them off the top of my head, but I don't. But yeah, thank you very much for listening. It has been a pleasure to talk about happiness today, and we will catch you on the next episode. Thank you and good night.
Thanks.
Peace.
Bye.